Hey, True Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's October 11th, 2016. The purpose of this video is to talk about how symbols are used to rule over us, often not for our benefit, and how symbols are hidden within our own English language. And for this lesson, we're going to use Colin Kaepernick, who's the front page story of ESPN.com today, the sports reporting news. For the last 2 months, Colin Kaepernick has been a familiar face in mainstream media because he is the first professional athlete to be recognized for protesting against the national anthem, the common flag worshiping ceremony before sports games, professional, collegiate, high school in this nation. Since Colin Kaepernick has become the face of this story, there have been many other stories of many other athletes at all levels, professional, college, and high school. This has become a viral news story. And the reason this is a viral news story right now is because it's a story that divides us as a people. In this nation, there are many different feelings about the flag. There are those who really respect and appreciate and truly worship the flag. There are those who see the flag as a piece of cloth, a symbol, an empty symbol, a Masonic symbol. So there's these different viewpoints. And by putting out stories such as this, it charges up people with their different viewpoints. And in society, those people clash. If you go to a professional sports game, there's often alcohol, there's tension just because fans, they're so into their team and so against the other team. If you go to professional sports games, it's not uncommon to see fights, people throwing their beers at each other. So just add one more divisive element to it. You're turning up the heat on the oven. And what I have been showing for the last 2 years is how the NFL uses its athletes to complement the ongoing propaganda in the media. A lot of NFL athletes have participated in the hands up, don't shoot protest that coincides with the reported shootings. The first team to participate was the St. Louis Rams after the Michael Brown incident. And there's been a lot more since. There was LeBron James in the Trayvon Martin shooting years ago. At the Super Bowl this year, which I predicted well in advance, if you missed my work, last year in November, I said the Super Bowl would be the Broncos defeating the Carolina Black Panthers for the race war symbolism. O.J. Simpson, the white Bronco, white versus black, white quarterback, black quarterback. In November, I said this would be the Super Bowl, and there would be race war symbolism, likely a Black Panther tribute. So real quick, before I educate you on the symbolism of Colin Kaepernick and the Afro that he has been made to grow out for this contrived story, let me take you back to what you might have missed last year. I talked about all of this in the build-up to the Super Bowl. San Francisco hosted the Super Bowl last year, which is right by Oakland, where the Black Panther Party was established. So look at this. Black Panther Party has Gematria of 74, like Masonic, like occult. Freemasonry is very occult, a lot of esoteric knowledge. 74 is a very important number to Freemasonry. This nation, the United States of America, established by Freemasons. Look at this. The word holiday has Gematria of 74, and so does Independence Day. Independence Day. Not a coincidence. Gematria is important to Freemasonry. Freemasonry has concepts such as order out of chaos, divide and conquer. They believe in using the esoteric, occult, ancient knowledge of the world, which includes Gematria, what I'm showing you right here, the practice of coding numbers into words. Anyhow, look at this. Because of understanding this knowledge, I was able to make the prediction of who would be the MVP of the Super Bowl last year well in advance. Here's what you need to know. Oakland in Gematria sums to 58. That's where the Black Panther Party was established. Last year, San Francisco 49ers hosted the Super Bowl just across the bay from Oakland. Huey P. Newton's who established the Black Panther Party. What I knew from research is the next quarterback to start in a Super Bowl last year, had the possibility of being the 58th and the 59th if there were two quarterbacks who'd never been. It was very obvious that the season was scripted for Peyton Manning. I knew he was going to be. He'd already been. So the next quarterback to start against him would be the 58th quarterback to start in a Super Bowl, and a lot lined up for the Panthers and Cam Newton. The last time the Broncos and Panthers had played each other in history, their game summed to 50 points, a clue that they would meet in Super Bowl 50. Anyhow, Huey P. Newton 58, this important number to Freemasonry, Oakland 58. Think about Cam Newton, the quarterback of the Panthers with the Black Panther on the side of their helmet. I was saying at the time, if he becomes the next quarterback, he's going to be the 58th. And sure enough, that did happen. Because this is truly how your NFL is scripted. It's full of tributes every year, every season, every game. Yesterday, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from Florida won on Christopher Columbus Day. Columbus, who sailed for Spain. Florida used to be a Spanish territory. Christopher Columbus came to the home of the natives and took it. Yesterday, the Buccaneers, the Pirates, went to the home of the Panthers and took the game in very scripted fashion. Anyway, your league is full of tributes and history and numbers. This goes on all the time. With regards to Black Panther Party, it has Gematria of 74, like this special Masonic number. Colin Kaepernick, his name also has this Gematria. Huey P. Newton died in the year 89. The new Black Panther Party was established that year. Anyhow, all of this history is scripted by the numbers. These numbers have been coded into so many divisive things. Look at the phrase white supremacist. White supremacist, Gematria of 74. Not a coincidence. Last year they said a young white supremacist named Dylan Stormroof with a double N on the Dylan. Look it up. Ridiculous name, ridiculous spelling. They said Dylan Stormroof, the white supremacist, went into the church on Calhoun Street and shot up Bible study class. And then they said they arrested him on Interstate 74. And none of this is a coincidence. All of this is contrived propaganda, and this is what I'm trying to say is going on. Your news is making up fictional stories to divide a divide that is real further. You know, we live in a nation where there's racial hatred. People hurt. They kill each other for the wrong reasons out of hate. We have police that discriminate and target racially. We have a person running for the Republican Party that has said we need stop and frisk in black neighborhoods. And people support this, you know. We live in mad times. And for a lot of people, their only safety net in this world to escape with their mind from all the madness, their job, all the bullshit in the world, it's professional sports. And they use cognitive dissonance there, and they don't realize how the sports are all part of the same web. That's why these sports leagues reinforce the propaganda. Think about after September 11th, how the New England Patriots out of nowhere became the darlings of the league. The Patriot Act, sentiments of patriotism, then the New England Patriots and Tom Brady by the numbers. Think about Katrina and then the Aints becoming the Saints, winning a Super Bowl. You know, pro sports is littered with narratives crossing from media to sports. From 9/11 to Katrina to what's going on with the propaganda and the Super Bowl being the white Broncos versus the Black Panthers. You know, O.J. Simpson, new TV show the weekend before the Super Bowl that begins with the white Bronco chase. Former football player. So anyway, I was looking at this ESPN cover story and I was thinking about, you know, how we're sold out by these athletic actors that participate in these lies. They do it for the fame, for the money. These people are paid multi-million dollars a year. Colin Kaepernick, I think, makes $16 million a year, maybe more. It's a lot of money. Divide your salary by $16 million. You know what? Let's just do the math because I know a lot of you won't do it and you've never really comprehended this. Let's divide $16 million by $50,000, which is more than most Americans make and is a pretty healthy salary. So that's 16, three zeros, that's 16 million divided by 50 and then three more zeros, 50,000, 320. That means you'd have to work 320 years at your salary of $50,000 to make what Colin Kaepernick makes in a season. And what's Colin Kaepernick have to do this year? He doesn't even have to play football. He's on the bench. Well, he got put back in, and what did I say? If you missed my preview video last week, I said why Colin Kaepernick will be starting again after that game before it was even played. It's all a script by the numbers. But anyway, Colin Kaepernick this year, he just had to grow out the Afro. And if you missed my video that I put out 2 months ago when this first happened, I showed how he was being used because he has parallels to the 1968 Summer Olympics tribute as well. I'll link that video in the description. Right away, I said why he grew out the Afro, what it was all about. Well, anyway, I was just looking at this today and I said, okay, symbolism, afros. Of course, they're having him grow the afro because it takes us back to that period of time, the 60s, the Civil Rights Act, more racial strife, the time of the MLK assassination, the Malcolm X assassination. We're in the time of the first black president, who honestly very well could be the son of Malcolm X. There's rumors out there, and I don't think it's too far off. There's a lot of parallels between MLK, Malcolm X, and Barack Obama being the 44th president. If you haven't seen my work on that, check it out. We live in a time of kings and dynasties, and a lot of these people who become famous, they're not really what we think they are. They're part of families, they're part of bloodlines, they're used to steer us. So anyway, Colin Kaepernick, his afro, it takes us back to that time, the 60s. People have still had afros since then, but there were just way more afros back then, as we all know. The people who protested, the Black Power, Panther salute in the 68 Olympics, they had the shorter fros, they were sprinters. But anyway, look at this. I got the thought today, I was like, I wonder if there's symbolism within the word Afro that's been given to us in this period of time where language and numbers are under this Gematria system. Again, English and Gematria, the same value. That special number 74. Anyway, Afro and Jewish Gematria sums to 137. Of course, 137 is the 33rd prime number, and 33 is the number coded into all of these racially divisive stories. Again, because it's a number of significance to the Freemasons who believe in order out of chaos, divide and conquer. So divide people, get them to create scenes of chaos, such as the LA riots after the beating of Rodney King on 3/3, March 3rd, Police 33, LAPD 33, 137, the 33rd prime. This is why these words that we have exist. They've been created with these concepts, Because people have been programmed to hate people over race. Many people hate people of all races. A lot of racial hatred for black people. Maybe that's the group that has been programmed to be hated the most by all. That's what it seems to me just from living in this world. You find people of all races, they have hatred for black people, even when they come from continents where black people don't live. It's because the same people rule the media worldwide. And for whatever reasons we've covered actually, we call these people who rule the media Jewish because they're not really Jews. They've stolen the identities of the real Jews, which if you read the Bible are the darker skinned people of the world. But anyway, 33 coded all over this racial divisiveness, masonry, secrecy, order, federal, police, black lives, KKK, race war, And of course this whole flag debate and having a black man not salute the flag during the national anthem, for some people that'll make them even more infuriated because they've been programmed with the racial hatred as well. And this just complements all the other propaganda in the media. Think about how many racially divisive stories have come out since the Colin Kaepernick news broke. So anyway, just another lesson on symbols, numbers into words, numbers are symbols. All numbers represent something. Think about the number 1. What do you think of when you think of 1? Wanting to be first place, wanting to be number 1 in line, recognized as the greatest of all time. What about 2? 2 is the beginning of where animosity starts. Second place, jealousy, runner-up, division, divide and conquer. What about 3? Most people say the Holy Trinity. 3 is also a very strong base of something. Think about all the pyramid symbolism. Remember the word symbol equals 86, triangle 86, pyramid 86, republic 86. Citizen 86. Think about how we're a nation in a republic. People mostly walking around with logos on. We are symbols. How many Nike swooshes are all over this grand society we have? 4, number of foundation. I'm sitting on a chair with 4 legs. You probably are right now too. Most of our homes, 4 corners. 5, the number of creation. Look down at your hand. What do you create with? Your hand is a big part. They say 6 represents the flaws of man. All these associations in numerology, the symbolism behind the numbers, they come from somewhere. Where does the original association of 6 representing the flaws of man come from? Perhaps people who grew a sixth finger, I don't know. Sometimes that happens. So anyway, numbers, symbols, this knowledge is used to encode language every day from the people who rule over us. So the question becomes why? And for those of us who are awake, we see that our fellow man who's not awake, they're in a trance, they're in a hypnosis, they're in a coma. The word magic has Gematria of 33. We haven't been raised to, understand the truth of this world, even the truth of our own existence. We're told things like our mind, it operates at a magnificent capacity, but we're only aware of a very small part of it. Is it possible that our mind is always running numbers and breaking down words into numbers and we don't even realize it? From a young age, we're taught the alphabetic order. We're taught how to count. We're taught these things right next to each other. Are the associations there without even realizing it? How many classrooms around the top have ABCs around with numbers right beneath them? When I go in classrooms now aware of this, I notice this everywhere, and I think it's so interesting that this symbolism is all before our eyes everywhere, but we never talk about it as a society. The only reason I found out about Gematria is because I was searching for truth. It came across my eyes, but not until I was 30 years old. And I'd been searching for truth for over a decade, This thing used every day to encode the information of our lives, hidden knowledge, and we need to ask ourselves why. How is it being used against us? Why are we not to know about it? And for those of you who think this is a coincidence, I want you to look around this world and start asking yourself, what isn't a coincidence? If you think what I'm showing you is a coincidence, then what in this world isn't a coincidence? Let's close with some quotes. I think this one's interesting from Confucius. Signs and symbols rule the world, not words nor laws. It's kind of conflicting almost with what we're talking about, right? Signs and symbols rule the world. We're talking about that. But then he says, but not words nor laws. And we're talking about the hidden symbolism within words. So it almost makes you wonder, is that really the reason that our words are constructed as they are? To get back to these numbers because these hidden symbols within, they have all the value, all the power? What do they know that we don't? Numbers have life. They're not just symbols on paper. And since the time I started this research, I found that there's something very organic to these numbers as well. Quick example from my own life, my own birth. My father's full name in Gematria sums to 89. My full name in Gematria sums to 89. My mother's birthday is September 8th, which is written 8/9 in most parts of the world. The day I was born, July 21st, 1983. If you just type in a web search, what's the coldest day ever recorded on Earth? It's going to come up, July 21st, 1983. It's still the record temperature. It was negative 89 Celsius that day. Here's what else is interesting. 89 is the 11th Fibonacci number. And the number that comes after it's the 12th Fibonacci number, 144. From my parents' birthdays, their span of days, from my mother's birthday to my father's, is 144 days. The Fibonacci numbers are supposed to be the numbers of life. And then I see, wow, they're encoded into my father's name, my mom's date of birth, and even the distance in their days. So, a lot of people who've come across my work in the last few years and have applied it have found similar patterns with them, their parents, their loved ones. So there really is an organic layer here too. But don't start to think that means what's being done in the media is all organic. We know that's not the way they contrive the names, the ridiculous spellings. The people in the media, they're trying to force it. It's possible that what they're aware of with all this old ancient knowledge is they're aware that the world operates on some sort of numerical underline that we all just fall in line with, possibly even through the language we speak. But at the same time, they're possibly aware of this and maybe they're trying to manipulate that by forcing certain things, such as the way they code the number 74 into all their divisive propaganda along with 33, again and again, as I've documented truly about 10,000 times now in 3 years. You think 10,000 documentations, that just pile up day after day, you think that's a coincidence? Numbers are the highest degree of knowledge. It is knowledge itself, Plato. Remember, math equals 42. The word knowledge equals 42. The word knowledge the big way equals 96. If you take the divisors of 42, they sum to 96. Lots of 42 symbolism put before our eyes. Sports, movies, news. We're being mocked. The important knowledge in this world has been hidden from us, from how to properly eat and diet and take care of ourselves, to what's really going on in this world. We've been given a box of lies and misinformation so that we're more easily controlled and ruled over. And again, we're constantly distracted, we're constantly idolizing, we're constantly worshiping people that really have no care for any of us. People that sell us out every day for their own money and fame. If you haven't seen my video on the dollar bill, the symbolism in it, why we have 7 denominations that sum to 188, I'm going to link that in the description. That goes well with this symbol conversation. And I'm also going to link my video on Colin Kaepernick from right after this news broke, in case you missed that video. Until next time, true encore. One last point I forgot to make earlier. The reason I was able to pick the MVP of the Super Bowl before the game was even set or played was, again, understanding this code. Cam Newton, who became the 58th quarterback to start in a Super Bowl, he was drafted just ahead of Von Miller, who wears the number 58 for the Denver Broncos, who were a lock to win. Denver was a defensive team. Peyton Manning was washed up. The narrative was easy to see. Von Miller having a dominant game, becoming the MVP, being the reason the Broncos won the Super Bowl. That's exactly what happened, as I predicted before the game. There was also a Black Panther tribute at halftime for Mario Woods, which was another contrived story by the numbers. I'll link my blog post on that in the description. But this number 58, it's been used to divide people purposefully with controlled opposition by the numbers, from Black Panther Party to Nation of Islam. These are all Freemason doings. With regards to Cam Newton and Von Miller, they were both members of the same draft class along with Colin Kaepernick. And again, the 49ers hosted the Super Bowl, who Kaepernick now plays for. It's all a script. Until next time.